Assalamualaikum and good day everybody. I am Narhaya Escudaba, one of the reporter of group of lesson 10. Figure 1. Marta Menunzin Performance Art. Figure 1 show how improvisation allow for a certain extent of freedom for the artist to improvise and allow the subject to perform and embody the artwork itself. So, sa figure 1 is pinapakita kung paano ipahayag ang improvisation para sa isang tiyak ng kalayaan para sa artist na payagan ng isang subject na gampanan at isama ang mismong artwork. To a certain extent, it allows the artist to explore and think about how the audience can actually be a part of the work in itself. Pinapayagan ng artist na explore at pag-isipan kung paano ang actual na bahagi ng sarili nitong gawain. Improvisation may have been a revolutionary concept when it comes to art because it blurs the line of reality and that of imagination. So, ang improvisation daw ay maaaring isang revolutionary concept pagdating sa art dahil it blurred the line of reality and imagination. Figure 2. An example of an action painting. Appropriation. So, when we say appropriation, is ito na yung paglalaan. If, for example, an artist created a painting and displayed it in a museum, who do you think owned the artwork? Artist or his intended audience? During the 20th century, people started raising the question whether or not the act of delivering meaning gives the ownership of the artwork to the viewer rather than the artist himself. This notion paved the way for the emergence of appropriation artists who seem to promote the idea that the authorship relies on the viewers. So, ang paniniwala na ito ay nabukas ng daan para sa paglitaw na mga artist ng paglalaan na tila nagtataguyod ng idea na ang may akda ay umaasa sa manonood. If this is the case, then appropriation artist can take as much as he wants from an existing artwork. So, if this is the case, kung gayon, ang mga artist ay maaaring tumagal ng higit sa nais niya mula sa isang mayroon ng artwork. Appropriation of art has been a common practice throughout history. In the past, if an apprenticed painter needs to hone his skills in his craft, he will be allowed to use his masterwork to copy. In the past, kung ang isang painter ay kailangan ng palakasin ng kanyang skill sa pag-craft, ay pinapayagan siyang gamitin ang gawa ng kanyang master para gayahin ito. It is as if the apprentice is trying to explore his personal application of technique to something he is more familiar with. However, there are some people who go to the extreme by believing that copying the exact artwork of an artist and attributing it to his own. So, may ilang tao na paniniwalaan na ang pag-copy ng exact artwork ng isang artist ay maiugnay ito sa kanyang sariling gawa. It could pose a problem especially with authorship. The problem arises when the appropriation artist will get bits and pieces from other works and incorporated these elements into his own work. So, kapag makakakuha ng mga piece of elements mula sa iba pang gawa ng ibang artist, at makakabuo ng kanyang sariling gawa is magkakaroon ito ng problema. In addition, when appropriation artists eschew the responsibility for putting up the details of other works and integrating from into their own, their voices and perspective of the other artists get loose with that of the appropriation artists. There seemed to be a very thin demarcation line between appropriation art and forgery. Traditionally, forgery can be classified into two forms: outright copies of existing works and pastiches, which are works that bring together elements, form a artwork, and infusing them to a new work. So una is ang pagcopy sa mga gawa and pastiches, mga gawa na pinagsama-sama ang mga elements mula sa isang artwork at nilagay sa isang bagong artwork. But in contemporary times, forgery can be in the form of creating an approximate of what an artist will do by prediction. But sa contemporary times, ang pamimeke ay maaaring sa anyo ng paglikha ng isang tinatayang kung ano ang gagawin ng isang artist sa pamamagitan ng hula. This can be done by observing the techniques and style the artist employed and even the focal points highlight in his previous and existing works. The intentions of the appropriation artist are often questioned since issues of plagiarism or forgery sometimes arise. So, ang mga hangarin ng mga artist ay madalas na tinatanong dahil sa issue ng plagiarism or forgery. Some would argue that the reason behind the appropriation is that they want the audience to recognize the images they copy. So, ang iba ay nagtatalo-talo na ang dahilan ay gusto nila makilala o ma-recognize ng audience ang imaheng ginawa nila. There is a hope on the part of the artist for the viewers to see the original work in a new perspective. That appropriation will bring about a new context to the original work. One of the most famous work of appropriation would have to be Andy Warhol's Campbell Soup Cans, 1962. So, isa sa mga pinaka-famous na gawa ng appropriation ay ang Campbell Soup Cans na gawa ni Andy Warhol. Warhol copied the original labels of the soup can but deliberately filled up the entire picture plane. So, si Warhol ay kinopya na lamang ang original labels of the soup can pero pinuno niya ng buong eroplano ang larawan. The idea of putting together of the soup cans is sometimes new for the audience. Just like any product, the brand is integral to Campbell's identity. So, as an artist, Warhol decided to isolate the image of the product. So, bilang artist, si Warhol ay nag-decide siya na ihiwalay ang image sa kanyang product. This attempt could in turn stimulate product recognition. A common viewer would associate the Campbell soup with the portraits of the soup cans. This association will bring about a certain kind of craving for the said product. In a way, it is a subtle form of advertising that would entice the consumer to buy and patronize the product. So in a way, ito ay isang banayag na anyo ng advertising na aakit sa mamimili at tumangkilig sa produkto na ito. Figure 3. Andy Warhol, Campbell's Soup Cans, 1962.